even as someone that was a Kindle girly and even as someone that has used higher up models in the Kobo lineup, I still really think these devices hold their own. Hi Slayers, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eileen, the e-reader queen, and today we're going to be talking about two e-readers that are very similar to each other, and two e-readers that I think are great values. So we're going to be talking about the Kobo Clara Black and White and the Kobo Clara Color. Now, as you can hear from the name, these are basically the same model of Kobo. From everything around their design, they actually are very hard for me to tell apart. Whenever I was filming B-roll for them, I was like, which one is which? The only way that I can really tell them apart is that one of them has color and one of them just is black and white. So I think a good place to start with this video is what are all of the differences between these two models, since they are technically the same model of e-reader, but they are different in their screens. So yes, the biggest difference is that the Kobo Clara Color has color e-ink and the Kobo Clara Black and White has black and white e-ink. So personally, I'm someone that really likes color, and I just like to have it on my e-reading device. I like to annotate with it by using the highlighter or the notes function. I like to see my book covers, and I like it when I turn off my device that I can see the book cover that I'm reading in color. It just reminds me of reading a real book, and I feel like for me, it keeps me going back to this e-reader a little bit more than if it was just a normal black and white e-reader. That being said, there's nothing wrong with a black and white e-reader. That is kind of how books are, and honestly, it's totally fine and normal to just read in black and white and not have any need or necessary use for color. I just personally like the color. Now, the other biggest difference in terms of screen is that the black and white Kobo has a higher resolution at 300 pixels per inch for all of its content, whereas the Kobo Clara Color only has 150 pixels per inch for the color content, but it does still have 300 pixels per inch, so the same resolution as the black and white one, on the black and white content. So here is a pretty big discrepancy, and you might be asking, have I noticed anything from using both of these devices? And honestly, no. I don't feel like I'm someone that's like a pixel peeper whenever I'm reading. I feel like I just see the words on the screen and that's all I'm really thinking about, and it hasn't really bothered me. If I get up close and personal, you can see that there are pixels there, whereas if you get really close to the black and white e-reader, you're not going to notice that as much. And if you're someone that really just values a really perfectly crisp screen, and which I can tell you is a really enjoyable reading experience, then obviously I think the black and white one might be a better deal for you. But if you're someone that is just looking to have fun with your books and you don't necessarily think that you're going to notice the resolution of each device, then honestly the Kobo Clara Color is really perfect, and I don't have any issues with it whenever I'm reading. I think it looks really pretty still. And if you never told me that there was a difference in resolution, I'm honestly not sure I would have noticed. I will say that I think the Kobo Clara Color has less brightness capability. I think it's a little bit more dim compared to the black and white model, but honestly, whenever I've been using it, if you're not looking at the two e-readers next to each other, you're probably not going to notice a difference, and I didn't really have any issues with it, even if it was technically a bit lower in brightness. But ultimately, this can be personal preference. Some people have a bit more detail-oriented look on their devices, and some people just generally don't. And so if you know that you're one of those people that like constantly looks at your device to see its quality and its resolution, then maybe the color is not enough for you. But if you're someone that just generally wants to read and maybe you just really like color, I think the color is definitely worth it and definitely fun to look at. Now, another main difference between the Kobos is the price. So the Kobo Clara Black and White is $140 and the Kobo Clara Color is $160. So there is a $20 difference, but honestly, in the scale of e-readers, $20 is not a huge difference when you're comparing tech prices, and I feel like it's worth it for the color upgrades. But the devices are similar enough that I think that only having $20 difference is a pretty good deal as well, because neither device is really more superior than the other. And that's kind of it for all of the differences between the devices. I mean, they practically look exactly the same, and they feel the same, and they weigh the same, and they have all of the same innards besides the screen. So I feel like it makes sense that they are very similar, and we can go ahead and get into those similarities now. So like I said, the design is the same. They're both made from recycled plastic, and they're both waterproof, and they're both super light with 6-inch screens, which makes them extremely portable, and that's one of my favorite things to do. I just love to take my emotional support e-readers around with me to make me feel better and also make me read more. They both have power buttons on the back of the device, which is great because I'm someone that will constantly click the button if it's on the bottom of the device, so I really like that it's on the back. And they both have USB-C charging ports, ports, which is super great, and they charge pretty fast in my opinion. Neither of these devices are compatible with the Kobo stylus, so you cannot actually annotate right on top of the books, but you can still highlight and add notes like I said before. They are both extremely fast devices. I feel like I don't have any issues when I'm turning pages or opening menus, and I really feel like they feel like even higher quality than they actually are whenever I'm using the interfaces. Both of these devices have brightness controls where you can swipe up on the side of the screen without having to access any menus, which I really like because it helps me stay focused in my books more, and it's just really easy to adjust the brightness. And I also like that both of them have warm light settings, so you can adjust the brightness if you're reading to go to sleep, or it's just better for your eyes. Also, I wanted to point out that one of the similarities is that both devices have 16 gigabytes of storage, which holds roughly 12,000 ebooks. And then, of course, a huge pro of just choosing a Kobo in general is that you have access to the Kobo ecosystem, which of course isn't as vast as Amazon Kindles because Amazon is a huge company, but I really like some of the things that Kobo does specifically. So the integration with Overdrive is really cool, and on both devices you can access Overdrive, which is a library app, and you can read books directly from your Kobo. And it's super simple to just check out books and read them, and I've been able to read some really popular titles from checking out the books. You also have the ability to join Kobo Plus, which is kind of like Kindle Unlimited, which if you don't know is a monthly ebook subscription where you can download a bunch of books for paying a monthly price. And the Kobo one is cool because you can also have access to audiobooks. I'm not saying that these are exactly my favorite books to read for either Kindle Unlimited or Kobo Plus. The type of person that really likes these book subscriptions, and this is great for you to have an option to use one. And finally, one of the main perks of having a Kobo is that you are able to buy your books from the Kobo website and keep them and download them to any other device, so you can switch ecosystems or you can just have backups of your ebooks, which I think is really great. And I think it's good to always download content that you own. This is a big difference between Amazon, where you can no longer download any ebook that you've gotten from the Amazon site. So in this case, I really like to buy off of Kobo in general, and it's really cool that it just integrates so quickly with my Kobo devices as well. So to conclude, if you're between the Kobo Clara Colour and the Kobo Clara Black and White, both devices are great and super fast and super efficient devices, and I've had a great time reading on both of them, even as someone that was a Kindle girly and even as someone that has used higher up models in the Kobo lineup. I still really think these devices hold their own, and they have a really special place in my heart because of how portable they are, and I just love to take them around with me. The real main difference is you need to decide for you if color is something that you think will draw you to reading more, or if you would rather have a sharp screen resolution and you think that will draw you to reading more. Personally, for me, I found out that I really like having color there, even though it's not necessary. I just think it's a cool perk of having an e-reader like this. But also, I do understand that sometimes you just want to look at some crispy little words, and that makes your brain happy as well. So to each their own, and if you want, I'm sure you can probably buy them both and then return the one that you don't like if you really can't decide. But there's really no wrong choice, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with either. I personally just really like Kobos in general, and I would say that it's a good idea to try to switch out of the Kindle ecosystem and go onto an entry-level Kobo to start, because the price is so comparable to other lower model Kindles. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye!